So I absolutely forgot to press go live. So I've been uh, mumbling for the last 15 minutes to myself. I apologize for this. I thought I was presenting, but I didn't, so my bad. LFG permissionless goals, appreciate you here. Scorpion Free, thank you so much for your message, because due to your message, I realized that I didn't press that final button. I hope the audio is fine. If the audio is not fine, please let me know. These are the new headphones, noise protected, but maybe it's a little bit low volume. In any case, let me try to to present. If the audio is bad, let me know. I'll change it. So let's start over. The last 15 minutes. I was wondering why there are no comments. Okay. So the first thing is, let's talk about SEC guidance, right? So on DeFi. Thank you so much, permissionless coach. So okay, so this thing came out on April 13th. So let's go through kind of what we're seeing here. So SEC DeFi interface policy gives front end a relief. Oh, it's a relief. Okay, that's cool. So SEC Division of Trading Markets issued staff guidance on April 13, 2026, carving out a temporary safe harbor that allows certain self-custodial crypto interface to operate without registering as crypto dealers. Good morning, Federal. Okay, so it's a relief. Everybody's just like, oh, okay. It's a breath of fresh air. Oh, we can finally take it easy. Finally, open up a bottle of wine. A celebration. If that's so, well, not really true. So what the SEC actually changed for DeFi front end. The statement introduced the concept of covered user interface provider. The SEC defined this category as websites, browsers, extensions, software applications used with self-custodial wallets to prepare user-initiated crypto asset securities transactions. They're securities. Are these securities or commodities? Because you guys kind of confusing yourselves. You just said that Bitcoin is a commodity, now it's a security. What the hell is happening? What, Bitcoin cannot be traded via DeFi anymore? Well, guys, make up your mind. Okay, I think the reality is they're just trying to charge as much taxes as possible and have as much control as possible. Good morning, Mr. That said, it would not recommend enforcement action against providers that meet 4 conditions. They do not take custody of user funds. They do not solicit specific crypto asset securities transactions. They use objective and independently verifiable routing and market data logic. Okay? And they charge objective product and venue agnostic fee. Okay? So there's so many problems with all of these. So in any case, this first one is a relief. Okay, this article is very positive. The SEC, great job. Okay, second article. SEC issues new guidance on DeFi tools, signals when broker-dealer rules do not apply. The US SEC has outlined conditions under which DeFi interface providers can operate without registering as broker-dealers. Okay, whatever. The interfaces must not exercise any control discretion over user transactions and must remain purely neutral tools. Okay, so this article is more or less neutral. Now, this final article, I would say, is way more objective. It's not positive or negative, just objective, just real. SEC gives DeFi front ends a narrow path around broker-dealer rules, specifically these 5. Under the SEC step statement, an interface can avoid broker-dealer registration only if it meets all of the following conditions. Not 4 conditions, but 5 conditions. It does not take custody of user funds. So, yes, those central exchanges still die in hell. Okay? How come they're still not registered? Beyond me. How come Tether and Circle are not fully registered still? Beyond me. Circle is, apparently. Tether is not. Beyond me. Because they take custody of user funds when you are switching your dollars for Tether or dollars for Circle. How come that stuff is not fully ready? What is happening here? Okay, something is clearly happening. But okay, whatever. I agree with this one. Second, it provides no investment advice or trade recommendations. What the hell does it mean? No investment advice. What is an investment advice? Who provides investment advice? Ever? What exchanges today provide investment advice? The charts? What if I have a chart and put not an investment advice? Put a disclaimer. Is that sufficient? What does it even mean? Trade recommendations from that perspective? It's very unclear. It actually is very unclear. We absolutely need commentary for this. It has been prepared, 3-year-old fucking students, no, well, not 3-year-old students, 30 graders then, met during lunch period, and they forgot to do homework, right? And then the homework is due next period, and they're okay, we have to come up with something. And this is these 5 bullets. Like it's literally like third graders came up to you. Like, no offense. Like if SEC listens to me, I apologize deeply. Like I not mean this. This is not me. This is just a joke. This is a parody. Okay, I'm not really. Please do not go after me. Right? But in reality, this is like it's like third graders got together during lunch period. They had half an hour to come up with some stuff, and they came up with it. Okay, like it provides no investment advice or trade recommendation. What the hell does it mean? Can you like what does it mean? Third one is even more interesting. It does not route or execute orders on users' behalf. What the hell does it mean? So you go to ghostDAO. You decide to make a swap on Uniswap, like we fork Uniswap. You make a swap. Does it mean that the user, like, we executing orders on user's behalf? Like, what does it mean to execute orders like not on user's behalf? Like the user himself has to like recreate internet from scratch. Like internet cannot be used independently. It has to have his own like whatever like HTTPS network, and then the user has to like somehow manually send the signal, like probably like breathing into the tube to push that electronic signal through the wire that of course he has to control himself. Uh, and then on the other side of this, and then the user also has to kind of like tell the smart contract like verbally, smart contract, please, like smart contract 0x123 ABC. You have to execute this. Like, what does it mean on user's behalf? Everything is done on user's behalf. Every swap is done on user's behalf, technically. The user is pushing the transaction, right? But the transaction is getting executed without you understanding exactly how that transaction will be executed. Extremely unclear. I'm not trying to be difficult. Like, listen, if I had all, the army of lawyers on my side of things, like, I could qualify any of these things to not, for any protocol to not needing to be registered with a broker-dealer license. But it's the other way around. Like, it's, those bureaucrats on the other side of the table, they could interpret this however they want. Like, it's super unclear. Fourth, generally, it charges a fixed percentage as a transaction fee. Okay, so like generally, so they going after sexes, right? They say, hey, like sex, essentially, Coinbase, you're charging like a fixed fee, right? But they said, no, we don't. Depending on the volume, we increase the fee. Oh, so Coinbase does not need to register anymore. Yet a blockchain, I'm pretty sure there's some blockchains. I forgot which one, but there's some blockchains that always have fixed transaction fees. That was like a main feature for those blockchains. So now those blockchains, what they have to register with the SEC as broker dealer? It's like, what the hell is this? Like generally, what does it mean generally? Like generally, on average, that's the quality of the SEC. Like that's just the quality of the elites right now. Okay, like a random person will not be able to get a job with the SEC. A dear friend of mine got a job with the Federal Reserve, got X'd out a couple years later. The reason for being X'd out from the Federal Reserve was he didn't pay his email responses. The critique was the email responses were not thoughtful enough. Okay? So in email responses, the person had to apparently put more thought into it. Okay? The guy operated his own hedge fund back in the day. Like super quality dude, super educated, but he didn't last, more than a couple of years at Federal Reserve. Yeah, these freaking guys at the SEC who they're like on tenure and whatever, come up with this thing. This is definitely like this is like very deep thought. This is like the deepest thought they could ever come up with. Fifth one, it exercises no discretion over transactions or market activity. What the hell does it mean, no discretion over transactions? What the hell does it mean? Like, obviously, any what's this called? Any DeFi protocol would have some discretion because, like, again, the fact that the protocol decided discretionary to utilize MetaMask as a third-party whatever provider, right? Because lots of these transactions, like say, MetaMask is holding the RPC endpoint to connect the transaction with your specific wallet. Does it mean that the DeFi protocol therefore exercise discretion to integrate MetaMask into its architecture? Well, does it mean that any wallet can be integrated now? Does it mean that at every single point in time, the user has to exercise choice, right? So that's exactly how I interpret it. Like I interpret this, and myself and the team, we looked into this. We're not lawyers, and that's not legal advice. We're not qualified or registered to give any legal advice in the first place. But it seems like those one-click solutions are kind of out of the window, and the team is loving it. Like I'll say that the team is absolutely loving it. The team is loving the fact that okay, no longer it's a one-click stuff, because one-click stuff is the user has essentially the assumption is the user is a fucking idiot. He doesn't understand anything. So let's help the user lose his money, right? By doing this one-click type of solutions. And I think that's exactly what this kind of this guidance is trying to. I mean, if that's what the guidance was trying to exercise, like, hey, listen, like, if you are making any assumptions in any way, maybe you should register. And that's not incorrect. Like, for example, Uniswap. Uniswap is the best example. You go to Uniswap, you're trying to make a swap, right? Now, you have to use V1, V2, V3, V4. Now, all of those are connected on the background for you with all the check marks, right? Now, how Uniswap on the back end is routing the orders, you don't know. And that was actually quite like bizarre to me, also to the team. Like, why? First of all, why did you go to V3 and V4? Well, clearly, clearly Tether and Circle and the likes like asked them to do this, right? They, you're looking at the pairs. What are the most tradable tokens on Uniswap, the stablecoins? And obviously those two not DAI, those two stablecoins in particular, Tether and Circle. So obviously that was some type of deal. V2 is perfectly fine because V2 is market discovery for prices. V3, you have to go to the SEX and indirectly get that quote and then try to make markets on the Uniswap V3 and V4 to make sure there's no arbitrage. So essentially, you are matching the prices to the sexes. Now, who controls the sexes? It's a black box. Nobody knows, right? Like nobody knows exactly who controls that liquidity. We do know who controls that liquidity in principle. We don't know exactly who. Obviously, those same elites are controlling that liquidity on the back end. So therefore, Uniswap V3 and V4 is just puppets, right? Puppets of those elites. But now they go ahead and they present the routing protocol, kind of the routing mechanism on the background to execute your order. And you don't know how much of your order goes to V4, how much goes to V3, how much goes to V2. You have no idea. So that is, of course, kind of a problem, right? So Uniswap perhaps shall be registered, right? Perhaps. Because, again, V2, leave your dirty, corrupt hands out of V2 and V1. V1 is also great. V3, V4, clearly some funky stuff is happening there. So maybe that shall be registered. Sexes shall be registered, but maybe cow swap, right? Not very much familiar with like exactly how they work. Maybe they should be registered as well because they do some type of routing. The likes of Orca protocol on Solana should be registered. Like anybody routing orders on the background without telling the user exactly how that stuff being ordered, it's fair play. Who the hell are you as a protocol to tell me how to route my order? I did not give any fucking consent. Moreover, that is happening by default on the back end. And I need to like identify exactly, like I need to figure out exactly how to tweak the back end to make sure that, I can, remove certain choices. Like say in Uniswap, it was actually very not obvious to me how to uncheck V3 and V4. Like it was actually not obvious. Histia in Wales showed how to, get access to testnet, which was completely unclear. I still don't know how to do that. Like I still don't know how he did it. So of course, like kind of if this is the direction towards, hey, listen, like if the user has to understand every risk he's taken when he or she is entering a given protocol, and when interacting with a given protocol, the user needs to understand his or her risk from every single action taken. If this is what SEC is trying to do, I think this is great. I personally think this is great without being sarcastic. Because one-click solutions are nice, but because everybody is doing one-click solutions, and those one-click solutions obviously lead to users losing money, the industry standard weirdly becoming one-click is a norm. And those protocols that do not do one-click, such as Ghost, considered to be like, oh, the team just doesn't care enough. Oh, the team just sucks at UX. Oh, the team is this or that. But when developing anything, the first thing we think about is obviously, again, we're not lawyers, but the first thing we think about is legal implications. None of us want to go to jail. Given the current regulatory framework, we would like to change the world. And once we do have enough weight, then we can be changing the world kind of, how to say it, with a lot more influence and impact. And therefore we can be potentially kind of being kind of like more in the gray zone, right? As opposed to today. Today we have to be very not gray, right? And when we force to be gray, okay, we force to be gray when stuff is not clear. But that's not the intent. The intent is to be as wide as compliant as possible because we just don't have the resources to fight. However, once there's enough weight, then the gray zone could be leveraged a little bit more because at least the fines could be paid, and then those gray zones could potentially turn and mature into white zones, right? through enough lobby, through other protocols trying to do the same thing, or through some other powers that we have no access to, or maybe we'll have access to them, lobbying and helping us get kind of regulatory clarity. And of course, at some point in time, governments may fail. Period. And that future would be nice because in that case, it's going to be individual tribes, individual communities, and then kind of you'll kind of you could regulate to death all types of international law, even right now happening between different nations. Like if you start to reading the law of all international treaties, from security treaties to tax treaties between Europe and US and I don't know, Japan and Australia, it will blow your mind. It will absolutely blow your mind. There are libraries of laws that change every day, and therefore certain treaties that worked yesterday don't work today anymore. So how do you position your strategic, kind of direction of your firm? Like it's all this bizarre stuff because everybody just wants to make money and have influence. Like all this pissing contests between the super uneducated elites who come out with those five freaking like again third grade lunch period type of guidances that we all have to respect. Like it's freaking bizarre. It's beyond me. But in any case, that's what's happening. How is Ghost affected by this? It's not. I don't think we're affected by this in any way. So essentially, we are pure Web3, and that's always going to be the victory. As long as you're pure Web3, you're not taking users' funds, you're not kind of asking the user to understand what the hell's happening. As long as that's happening, Ghost shall be in the clear, no matter what laws and guidance come out. Even if laws and guidance come out that will be trying to threaten pure Web3 solutions, those laws will quickly be reversed because it's just impossible to control pure Web3 stuff. It's just impossible. The reason why the internet is being controlled right now because monopolies on the ISPs came out, and that's why, right? Had the regulatory frameworks enabled for mom and pop ISP provider situations like more decentralized ISP networks, we would not have the situation where the internet became a weapon, and that's why China is banning it because it's afraid that US will be using it against China. Some other countries are banning certain applications for the same exact reason because they don't want to have any influence. Because I discovered this to my biggest surprise that apparently kind of the ministries of defense, now the Ministry of War, the ministries of defense of the US do consider internet as a weapon, right, for all types of cognitive wars. Okay, and therefore other countries are reacting to this. The reason why that's possible because those few, ISPs, in the U.S. that's what Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile to some extent, right? Maybe somewhere maybe it's Comcast, right? So depending on the region, but it's like 5 to 10 players that are all controlled, are all under one control, and of course they do whatever they're being told, and that's the same situation in every developed or emerging country. It's a limited number of telecoms that control the whole thing. Okay? And that's why we have what we have. Now, with blockchain is very different because any machine could become a node. So the mom and pop type of distribution, like network distribution, network allocation, is what will protect pure Web3 solutions from any type of regulatory stuff. Previous one goes saying, would the SEC approve a warm down period where users cannot withdraw bond proceeds after a bond matures? Yes, it will, because it's in the smart contract. It's non-custodial. The bond can be absolutely withdrawn, but the warm-up is there, and the warm-up is fair game. The warm-up is extended by other users. So the warm-up is not extended by the team. The warm-up is not extended by the admin account. The warm-up is extended by the smart contract rules. So absolutely, like, why wouldn't it? Like that's the question, right? Okay, so that's this. Now let's talk about some updates on the ghostDAO front. So we had a couple of bonds matured on Sepolia. That was a very, very long bond. We also had a bond on Hoodie. I think that got X'd out recently. We also have a bond on Mortar. So please take advantage of them if you want. Expand the overall thing. Of course, Hoodie's crazy, like $22 million per eCasper with like no supply. That's the situation with most protocols. And of course, the situation is, how to say, I would say it's positive or negative. It's neutral with a plus, but it's not like super positive. So clearly here, what needs to be done is we need to exercise an attraction of higher TVL, and higher TVL already came out from the recent bond, so that is good. Now, a couple of things. So now this new page, well, let's do it here. So these new papers, right? So this unlock magic, this doesn't change. It's just as is. This APY is 957% APY. That's single stake APY. Now this is stake squared APY. We don't have the bridge APY connected to it yet. We didn't do the calculations yet. Now the calculations will be different. So the stake squared APY will integrate the 957 APY. Okay, so this one, so the stake squared APY will either be the same as single stake APY, or it's going to be larger. It cannot be lower. Why? The stake squared APY integrates the single stake APY plus the bridging fees. Now the bridging fees will be twofold. If the user does not have Ghost Connect installed, then the bridging fee will be the bridging fee APY therefore will be calculated based on historical bridging fees. If the bridging fee, on the other hand, so if the Ghost Connect is connected, then whatever the current bridging APY from the Ghost DAO, whatever that is going to be stake squared APY. Now, sometimes stake squared APY is zero. If there's no bridging fees, it's zero, right? We don't have any inflation. Inflation only happens, well, inflation of Casper, therefore, never happens. We just don't have inflation, period. But the supply of Casper or Ghost instead of Ghost Chain is increasing only if there are bridging fees. And it's increasing due to bridging fees themselves, right? So there's no inflation. So therefore, since there's no inflation, if there are no bridging fees, then the APY may be zero, and those two may be the same. However, when there is a bridging fee, the APY tends to be extremely high because that one bridging fee gets annualized, right? So especially if a large chunk of Ghost gets bridged, we have to annualize that entire bridging fee situation, and of course, there's going to be some massive APY. That what I'm saying massive is probably going to be like 1,000,000% APY or 10,000,000% APY. Is that misleading or not? No, it's not. It's annualized. Like, it's very similar to 957% APY. It's not misleading. It's annualized, meaning as of today, the annual APY is 957%. Tomorrow, if the APY changes, the APY will be there for 69% or 10%, right? Whatever, or 0%. But we have to annualize it because that's what the APY is. We could do daily APYs, but daily APYs nobody understands what the hell they mean. People don't understand it, so we have to annualize. That's what Olympus did, and that's what we're doing as well. Okay, so those papers changed now up to 37% discount. So we'll be taking the largest discount available and putting it here. That's up to 37% discount. Now, permissionless Ghost may be applicable to you more than to, well, at least I know for a fact that it could be applicable to you. I think you made some mistakes before, like on Dexes and stuff. Um, same, like, did this user interface point you to make a mistake, right? Based on the agency guidance, I don't know. But in any case, so these ones right now, these buttons are guiding the user. So the feedback that was mostly taken, to be honest, from customers, and customers would be potentially used as this user who is not very much understanding the tokenomics of the DAO. So he understands the bridge very well. He understands the chain very well, but as far as ghostDAO, that's a problem. And lots of you guys do not understand the tokenomics itself. Maybe you understand it, like meaning maybe you can even proclaim it, but you don't necessarily understand kind of what's happening, right? So that what was taken into the team was against it, very much against it initially. But then the team like said, okay, whatever, you guys do whatever, fine, like you'll just do what you need to do, but we warned you. So just to kind of make it clear who's responsible, that probably will be me. Therefore, at the end, I'm responsible for making that decision. So if the decision goes badly, at least you know whom to blame. What decision I'm talking to specifically? So the decision here is regarding guiding the user on the UI for its like the steps. Now these steps are outlined here as well. So like, okay, so from the UX perspective, this is bad UX because we have kind of, like the same thing repeating twice on the same user interface. Maybe that's bad. But the logic here is different. The logic here is the UX itself was not a problem. The problem was not understanding the tokenomics. So I understand how to click a button. Like if you tell me what button to click, I'll be able to click it. I'll be able to approve my balance or governing vote or for for making a swap, or for buying a bond, or for making my stake. So I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to do, sometimes we have approve buttons, right? So the UX itself is fine, but the guiding through tokenomics, that is not clear. So here the steps tell you the story. So first of all, go and swap. So when you go and swap, you redirect it to the swap. We removed wrapped ETH. You don't need to wrap anymore, right? So remember we had a wrapper. Don't need that anymore. So now it's just ETH, now just native coin. The wrapping happens on the back end. As long as you have a native coin, you can essentially swap from ETH to eCasper. Now that is 3-3. That is a 3-3 swap. Because from game theory, that is a good action that we want from the user. In fact, these two actions are together. So from perspective of game theory, outlined, we have a 4, 4, 4 model. Now we have 10 and 10, 10 because we have 3 chains bridged. But overall, swap, meaning buy, and stake go together. So these two actions are really just one action, 3-3. But since we have to separate them into separate tabs and whatever, we put 3-3 here and 3-3 here. In reality, they are both together 3-3. And you cannot say it's 1.5, 1.5, because they're together 3-3. Okay. So once you swap, you can then go ahead and stake. So you go ahead and stake, we show you the percentage right away. My problem, my personal pain was this: we have an amazing APY, and you need to go somewhere to find it. And it's a pain in the ass to find it somewhere. So now that's on the dashboard. Now you can see the APY. Maybe we need to add 2 decimal places here. I don't know, but whatever. Now stake squared APY. People don't understand what the hell. Like, why do we need to bridge? So that gets redirected to the bridge. Now the bridge needs to be reworked. This is not the final thing. So we did this in December. We liked it. I don't think many of us like it anymore, given the fact that we need to kind of have a vision for how to integrate this bridge and the stake squared. Now the stake squared, the bridge does not guarantee you stake squared. You need to bridge and then you need to nominate. So therefore, what we're working on connecting this, like finalizing this flow where the user bridges, and once the user bridges and redirects, he gets essentially kind of redirected to the light node, and then the kind of the welcoming screens on the ghost light tell them what to do with their breached Casper. Now, permissionless ghost, I think you mentioned some feedback in Wales. Keep providing that feedback. We don't have time right now to attack it. We provide feedback. I would say from what I've read, about 75% of stuff is just due to RPC failures, like just wait. But about 25% is like very, very good feedback. So thank you so much for all of it. So keep providing it. We're not going to be responding now, but we're working on this, right? Like, we're working on making a journey. So our goal is this. Our goal is when the user, one sec, let me just maybe paint the whole picture one more time. Give me 1 second. All right. So once the user goes to this thing, right? So to this website here, to the homepage, and looks at APYs, we need to optimize for the APYs. We need to make sure that we can provide the highest APY to the user. That's the idea. Now, of course, they make their choices, right? But our UX needs to help them, guide them, without discretion, right? Non-discretionary guidance through these APYs. So when I click on this Sepolia thing, I then need to kind of like show you, yeah, you can make your 957% APY. Absolutely, no problem. You can make it. However, you can make an even larger APY if you nominate whatever you just have. So bridge inside. Now it's great for the protocol as well, because from what I explained, but I would like to explain this one more time. It definitely was on the agenda for this call. I think what we developed is absolutely fucking genius. And it's not nice to say, right? Somebody else must say that, like about the protocol. But from the reason why I'm saying that is, I don't think it was really intended initially. It was just a lucky coincidence of events that I keep mentioning it. But the more I'm realizing what's happening, the more I'm like, yes, this is exactly what needs to happen. So what happens is people will be bridging inside of Ghost Chain for the double stake. They'll be putting all the liquidity inside of the Ghost Chain, where this liquidity will be centralized as a as a venue. It will still be decentralized, like owned in a decentralized fashion. However, it will all be centralized within one space. And what's going to happen to prices is the price will keep pushing up, because if you want to leave the Ghost Chain, you are losing that APY. But we're not educating you about this APY, and actually came from Scorpion. Like, we're not educating anybody about these amazing APYs. We have these amazing APYs that are actually real, actually backed, and nobody knows that we have them. So once we educate that, hey, there's a double stake APY, people will be very hesitant to leave. At least that's the assumption. Will be very hesitant to leave the Ghost Chain protocol, the Ghost Chain themselves, because yeah, they'll still be subject to single staking APY, but not double staking APY. So that way, what's happening is we are kind of in a, like, we provide incentives to significantly minimize selling pressure, therefore maximizing buying pressure. And when the prices increase, it's a lot easier to issue more bonds. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Prices go up, we put more bonds. Bonds issue back in, they increase back in. As back in increases, it's easier for price to keep increasing. So what we could do, we can suck up a lot of liquidity, a lot of freaking liquidity inside of the Ghost chain from all the blockchains. Like, we have this Kraken that is like, putting all that, like, kind of like sucking up all that liquidity from everywhere. And I know that I mentioned that before many times, but it just, like, I think I'm just blown away by like this interesting concept that no protocol has to date even thought about, yet alone implemented, and we could be the first one to do that. And you could suck up significant. We could, with like, big disclaimers. We could suck up significant percentage of liquidity from all these blockchains, thus helping those blockchains become more decentralized, because we'll be sucking that liquidity away from centralized exchanges as well. So this is something very, very important to think about. Original goes, it's difficult for the user who nominates a node to see track their rewards and nominations. There's no UI, so I understood you're working on this. Exactly. So what we're going to be doing is, just to manage your expectations for light node, this is goes specifically for you because you've been providing lots of feedback. Again, thank you so much for that. So first of all, we need to finalize the journey. We need to finalize the journey towards that double staking APY. Okay? So we want the user to bridge. We want to minimize the selling pressure. Therefore, protecting existing eCasper holders, right? Because as we minimize the selling pressure, it's becoming more and more, secure, at least in the short term, to buy eCasper and hold eCasper, right? Because the selling pressure is minimized. So therefore, once they bridge to the Ghost Light, to the Ghost Chain, and Ghost Light will be kind of, reflecting that. We need to create that welcoming journey first. Now remember, in order to become a nominator, there are two steps. First of all, the user needs to bond, then the user needs to nominate. So the welcoming journey will be focused on bonding that Casper. Once the Casper is bonded, we have to create a new name for it, probably locked, like whatever, or reserved, whatever. Once that stuff is locked inside of Ghost Chain for the nominator bond, we then have to work on other UIs, as you permissions just mentioned, where yes, that bonded for nomination stuff, like amount, has to be reallocated amongst many validators. And those UIs need to be better as well on the Ghost Light. So, but it's going to be two parts. We're working on the welcoming part right now. We already have some drafts for this other part, like where the user selects validators and tracks and stuff. But that part will come later. Why? We realize that certain things not finished yet. We need governance. We need to know how governance looks like so we can exactly position Ghostlight in the proper way. Because Ghostlight, we have so many things. If we have governance, obviously the welcoming screen, the nomination, the send, the address book, and blah, blah, blah. It has so many things. And we need to somehow properly allocate it all. So therefore, we cannot just jump to the nomination, finish that. So the idea for us is to finish the double staking journey and check if that works. And you guys will see it. And if this works, and if you don't invite members, your networks after that, I don't know. I really cannot help you anymore with that meaning, right? Because this double staking UI is just magic. It's just fucking magic. So you will feel it. I think you will feel it. You will feel it when the breached amount will be so freaking high and the prices will just keep going higher and higher and higher. And we didn't see that mechanics in previous ghostDAOs. We only have it now. Okay, so that's whatever. Now, the second thing is what Scorpion mentioned before, but by the time Scorpion mentioned it, we already implemented it. So, okay, so I have some bonds for claim. Okay, so I can claim it. Oh, now this UI we need to change. Somebody doesn't like it. I kind of like it now, but whatever. So this will be changed a little bit, but this has been integrated. One is in a warm-up period, cannot be claimed now. It will be available for claim in 2 epochs. Maybe we need to put a timer here or whatever. Or skip the warm-up. It has to stay. Skip the warm-up, whatever, and stakes now. So, and this APY shall be higher than this APY. Now, this APY sometimes will be the same when bridging APY is 0, but sometimes it will be a lot higher. So this is very evident for the user to just like, yes, that's stake squared, boom, here, hey, breach to start earning 10 stake squared, blah, blah, blah. I put my ghost address. So maybe you have to link you to the Ghost Connect. So you, whatever. So on the Ghost Connect, we need to rework Ghost Connect therefore in a similar fashion because we would like to ensure privacy here, generate unique bridging address for every transaction to protect your privacy. So every single bridging transaction, you shall not be using the same address. You should be using a new address. So we need to kind of guide you to the Ghost Connect so you can generate a new address. But we cannot just prefill it for you because if we do prefill it for you, that's a massive security vulnerability, which we do not want to do. Like certain and we're fighting very hard on this. Like the team is fighting us very hard on this. Especially the last 6 months. On like we want to simplify things. The team says you guys are fucking idiots. Like no, it's a security flaw. Like it's better for the user to just know how this works than to get their shit stolen completely. Right? Like UX is not everything. Security is everything. So we have like these like very very long, uncomfortable, difficult conversations happening now more and more. But this is unfortunately the nature of the game. So, but how to say there are no compromises for security. That's what you should need to understand. The only compromises we have are how to maybe be creative enough within the current scope of security protection to still have enough, like more or less easy to follow UX. But if it's a question between security or UX, security will always be selected. Always. Like it, I'll be vouching for it myself, but the team will not be persuadable against security flaws. Okay, so that is something for you guys to know. That's very important. So this is like interesting. So whatever you put the address, okay, get Ghost Connect. So my Ghost Connect is not connected apparently, so I need to go get Ghost Connect, log in, blah blah blah, and then that window of like the bridging situation will happen, right? And when the bridging situation happens, it will then direct me from those modal windows directly to the light node. That's the flow. So essentially, going back, if I want to get out of this warm-up period, right, which existed with Olympus, I can get there directly through those modal windows without having to do a separate bridging transaction. The bridging transaction will be happening here. Now, the reason why it was not possible to be done before is due to the fact that you have to change smart contract. In fact, you cannot do this on Sepolia. Sepolia does not have that functionality. Hoodie will. I have a Hoodie bond, so I'll be able to show this on Hoodie maybe next week. Like, well, actually on Wednesday if I want to, but probably next week once my bonds have been vested. So I'll be able to show you, we call this breakout, the breakout from the warm-up. Okay. Maybe that's enough. I also had like another couple of slides on governance. That's another thing that we're very, very much working on hardly right now. We have 4 options. Let me cover those options maybe next week. I wanted to cover them today. I have a PowerPoint prepared, but those 4 options, it's a separate conversation. Thank you so much for letting me know that the podcast did not start. I wanted to cover. I would have had another 15 minutes to cover the governance, but whatever. Next week, it's too much stuff, anyways. Thank you.